Africa's largest trade exhibition, the Intra-Africa Trade Fair, is taking place in Durban, Kwazulu-Natal this week, with the continent seeking to reignite a trade push disrupted by the coronavirus pandemic. CNBC Africa's Dewald Rademeyer caught up with the Kwazulu-Natal Premier Sihle Zikalala for an overview of the trade fair.
This Intra-Africa Trade Fair must resuscitate the spirit and motivation that had been started before COVID-19 of ensuring that Africa trade amongst its own nations. The trade analysis globally indicates that there is less than 20% of trade among African states. It puts it at about 17%, which is far less. Number of African countries such as South Africa and Egypt, Nigeria, you will find that they've got high trade volumes with Europe, with America, China, but they've got less among themselves. But for Africa to trade, Africa needs to produce. And for long period, in fact for centuries, Africa has been only mined where raw material is taken from Africa without processing to other countries, especially Europe and America. So Africa needs to build that manufacturing capacity.
Now, this is 18 months down the line, we're finally opening up, we're having more people at this event. Is this a way to springboard these actions you're talking about?
In fact, it is a way to springboard. It is a way where we leapfrog and ensure development is expedited. Also to resuscitate the economy that have been hit by the COVID-19. It is important that we resuscitate the economy and rejuvenate economic growth in all sectors. As KwaZulu-Natal, we are coming here with our strategy that is focusing on agro-processing, manufacturing in terms of automobile, in terms of clothing and textile, but in terms of putting the youth at the center of economic growth.
What is the trickle-down effect of this event, ATF, as in indirect jobs, direct jobs, tourism?
Well, firstly, there is direct jobs that are sustained. More than 1,200 jobs that are sustained directly, and a lot of income indirectly. But this also shows and it tells the world that Durban is now open for tourists, and it is an affirmation that Durban still remains a place for conferencing and for events.
And then, speaking of the events, speaking of the jobs, what's your outcomes that you're hoping to get from all these exhibits?
We are expecting that a number of companies will be able to establish partnerships and be able to trade even beyond the trade fair. We are also expecting that number of exhibitors will secure orders and will be able to build their businesses and benefit from exhibiting here.
Is there any focus areas that you think that can?
Well, automobile is the key area. As you would see that there is even a dedicated sector for it and a dedicated session. Agro-processing is one key area. We need to get chocolates from Central and Northern Africa, but we need to provide fresh produce and sugar from the Southern Africa. So with this platform, we believe that we'll be able to build that partnership.
And this obviously has a direct impact in terms of getting investment in at Durban Trade Port and the other SEZs.
Indeed. The SEZs will be here, the Durban Trade Port and Richards Bay. We're expecting direct investment that will come to these SEZs, and we are open to support all investors who are coming here.
And I think finally, and you have touched on this, how many people are you expecting to be here, just in terms of delegates?
Well, in terms of delegates, we will have about 11,000 people, but not at once. The lot will be today in the opening session, and that's why we've demarcated it into two. You've got a main hall or a main plenary, and you've got another where people will be seated. So people will be coming throughout the week in groups and for various different sessions.
Next up is the CEO of Trade and Investment KwaZulu-Natal, Neville Matjie, to tell us more about the manufacturing sector in the province.
Neville, thank you so much for taking time. We are now obviously at the Intra-Africa Trade Fair. I see you standing here with a Toyota. Could you tell me about this, locally manufactured?
This is a 100% locally manufactured vehicle by Toyota right here in Durban. Hence, it's written proudly made in KwaZulu-Natal. Toyota was kind enough to have this vehicle displayed. This is the Toyota Hilux. Toyota manufactures, as you know, 5 different brands right here in Durban. And the latest investment is the 2.7 billion rand Toyota Corolla Cross, which was launched by the president a few weeks ago. So we're quite excited about this and this opportunity. The Intra-Africa Trade Fair, of course, creates a wonderful opportunity to showcase locally produced products for exports. And also we're looking at how we integrate and increase the trade value within the African continent.
Now, we've just come out of the looting a couple of months ago. We're obviously still struggling with power issues. What does this kind of investment mean for TIKZN?
You know, not only for TIKZN, for the province, the Premier has been quite decisive in his leadership. And really this event is happening through his efforts to ensure that we showcase that KwaZulu-Natal is rising, KwaZulu-Natal is united, and we are ready for business. The looting itself, of course, created a bit of a hiccup in as far as our efforts are concerned to try and attract investments. But be that as it may, a lot of companies were first in line to pledge their support for KwaZulu-Natal because they know this is a stable economy with adequate government support. And as a result, this Intra-Africa Trade Fair really creates a boost into the economy of KwaZulu-Natal and the country for that matter.
Now, you're sitting on a panel on the 3rd of November, and you're discussing about the lessons learned from experience, leveraging from the special economic zones. What can we get from that?
Remember, we are home to 2 special economic zones, the Durban Trade Port as well as the Richards Bay IDZ. The best performing special economic zone in South Africa is Durban Trade Port. So we're really sharing our knowledge in terms of how we've been able to have that as a success factor. But over and above that we are looking at 2 additional special economic zones for the province. We're looking at one focusing on the clothing and textile and one in the maritime sector. So our idea is to see how we rekindle our economy by creating additional special economic zones, but they are sector focused and they create you follow the entire value chain in as far as the manufacturing services are concerned.
What expectations do you have coming from this week's events?
Our expectation is a boost in intra-Africa trade. As I said, this is the largest platform on the African continent, and it creates a sense of energy to showcase what Africa can do best. 54 countries that are exhibiting and that are participating in this session, 6 heads of state plus our heads of state. It's a true boost, and it's a commitment from the African continent to show that Africa can actually boost its trade. We're looking as KwaZulu-Natal. We've actually developed through the directive of our Premier. We produced the export strategy for Africa, taking into account what the Africa Continental Free Trade Area indicated. And from there, we've identified products that we can export into the continent. Over and above that, we're looking at products that we don't have, that we're currently importing from other regions. We're trying to look at how we can rather prioritize the African continent for importing those products rather than other regions. Because if we committed to intra-Africa trade, we've got to start right here on our backyard.
Any projects in the pipeline that you can talk about?
Yeah, we've got quite a few. I mean, on the investment side, we've already presented quite a few projects to the Afrexim Bank. And this week, we actually have set up a number of one-on-one meetings between the project promoters as well as the Afrexim Bank. A lot of the projects are R1 billion and above. So really turnkey projects that are going to change the face of our economy, from logistics to tourism and property development, to oil and gas. So quite a number of projects that we've looked at. We're looking at even at potential for a smart city, hospital development with an academic institution around it. So quite a number of those projects that we've engaged with the African Bank on. And this week, really, we are seeking to see how we can get those deals embedded and signed during this week.
What is the key message you want to get out?
The key message that we want to get out of this week is really Africa is ready and Africa wants to do business with Africa. We just need to resolve one or two issues in terms of non-tariff barriers. Once those issues are resolved, then we'll be able to really see a huge boom in as far as the intra-Africa trade is concerned. So one message is Africa ready to do business.
Join us again tomorrow for more from the Intra-Africa Trade Fair here on CNBC Africa.